Good morning. It is September the 28th. We're nearing the end of the month, and it took me a couple of days to put together this video of Greta Thunberg. I have been studying her for more than a few days, as have all of us been watching. I've been reading very positive things about her, and I've read people's posts that have been very negative. And when I give an astrological reading, when I look at the chart, I go deeply within my own soul to not be influenced by the making of somebody into a goddess or the making of somebody into an evil being or a shill or whatever you want to call them. I prefer to take a look at the chart like I don't know the person and let spirit guide me. And the first thing that I saw in her chart is this is a new moon baby. She's born January 3rd, 2003. She is sun and moon in Capricorn with Mercury in Capricorn. The sun being conjunct Chiron in the 8th house. So this is a soul that came in with a powerful mission to start a new life, to advance the planet in some form. But most of all, it's a serious chart. When the sun and moon are in Capricorn, this is somebody that probably, yes, does have parents that support her, but may also have subconsciously pressured her by their own vocabulary or being in that environment of having a certain cause. But I have to say that this is a strong chart. This woman has, I call her a woman even though she's going to be 17 in January. She's mature. The Capricorn soul is very old when it's young and seems to get less serious and less obsessed about their mission as they get a little older. So I'm not surprised with this sun conjunct Capricorn, the sun conjunct Chiron, Chiron is the wounded healer, where we have our deepest wound. Capricorn in the 8th house of Scorpio is where we have our deepest healing. I've noticed that some of these young people today that have Chiron in a certain sign, they deal with their wounds at a much younger age than we do. So the sun conjunct Chiron is pretty isolated, lonely person. It's somebody that spends a lot of time in solitary self-reflection and focused on what she came here to do. Almost to the point where it might be an obsession about what she came here to do. But if this is applied in a positive way to bring more consciousness to the earth, then, and I feel it is, we shouldn't get so hung up on what are her issues with the earth. And we should look more at the fact that she passionately cares with utmost devotion to what goes on this earth and is forthright enough to speak her mind right from the center of her being. Greta was diagnosed with Asperger's, and in the light of her emergence as an activist, something, it's like, what I've noticed with Asperger's is often there's a very genius brain that accompanies it, and it gets very focused on one form of interest and follows that interest ad infinitum. Like they never give up on studying on the things that there are other passions. The other thing I've noticed about Asperger's is that they speak the truth. They do not lie. They do not get out there to present a false image or false story. They don't know how to lie. And this is one of the most endearing traits. You always know where you stand with them. And there's an impersonal aspect to their speaking of the truth. So there's not this huge, although she has the passionate Venus in Scorpio and Mars in Scorpio, which pushes her message out there with a lot of force. And that Mars in Scorpio gives her an incredible capability to stick with her goal to the end of her life. She will not let up on where she's heading with this goal. She will stay with it. Mars in Scorpio does not give up even when the ship is sinking. And right now, our planet's sinking. She's not going to abandon this, no matter what criticism she gets, nastiness, people blaming her family, or that she's been brainwashed, or whatever. This girl, Asperger's people, they think for themselves. They have original minds. And when they latch on to what they feel is their direction, they're not convinced by others. They will listen to those they love, but basically they're militant in their own way about what they think is right and wrong. Greta Sun being conjunct Chiron, it's the alignment signifies an individual who came into this world with a very, very deep soul and a very deep wound. And that she'll face it throughout her life until she heals it. And I feel because her Chiron is in Capricorn and is in the 8th house, she might have had a lot of personal power in another life, and in this life came in to assume power, but to assume it with full-on integrity and with a clear, almost like a holy mission to her expression of what she thinks she's here to do. I do know that she was mute. I think it was around age 9 or 10. She was actually mute and had a hard time speaking at all. And it was only when she discovered her cause that she found her voice, literally. So, and it's interesting because she has her Saturn in Gemini, and that's our karmic mission here. And her Saturn is in the 1st house. So she came here karmically to be a leader. Almost, although you would not believe it, looking at all the followers she has now, to be a solitary leader, to be a leader, not a reluctant leader, a reluctant messiah, so to speak. And her Saturn in Gemini, her mission was to find her voice and to use it as a leader, which of course she is doing. She probably never would have gotten her message really out there were it not that she has right now, Saturn has been back and forth on transiting Saturn in the heavens, as we talked, has been in Capricorn, as has Pluto. So these planets have been sliding back and forth over her sun and moon and are coming up on the moon and the Mercury over the next few months. And so her voice is not going to get weaker, it's going to get stronger. And it's a voice where she cannot, as much as people out there think, well, she's taking the power, she could be abusing it, she cannot abuse it with Saturn and Pluto riding over her sun, moon, and Mercury. She will be held to, her feet will be held to the fire to stay true to herself And with Saturn and Pluto having gone over her Chiron, that wound has been opened and has been cauterized and healed and gathered as the healer with her sun energy in Capricorn to build a new structure on this earth. So the sun conjunct moon in Capricorn is to build a new structure, to build a new way of how we, with our Taurus rising, which is all about Mother Earth, to build a new way of co-creating with Mother Earth, because Chiron opposite the first house, the wound is in herself, but the wound is also in Mother Earth. So she's here to help bring a new way of speaking about the earth and to speak to some mighty powerful people. With Pluto coming over all of her planets, Pluto is allowing her to ascend to a position of powerful leadership as long as she stays true to her cause, which I do not see in this chart why she would not. I don't see something saying that she would not stay true to the path that she's chosen, because number one, the Asperger's, which I feel people are very direct and honest and brilliant and on their path. When they find their path, they're on their path. Secondly, with the Saturn-Pluto heading over all of these planets and then heading up over 2 more of her planets, for the next 10 years of her life, she's dealing with both of those planets. And it's going to not only keep her honest, but these are also right up at her midheaven. So she's in the limelight, in the limelight, in the limelight. Now you may find with her, she gets the ball rolling, she kicks people hard and is intense as hell when she gets her message out there, as we've all seen. But she may move back more into that solitariness as time goes by. Might be that it's like a world weariness or an exhaustion that could come up. Whoops, sorry. That could come upon her as time goes by. The other thing in her chart that's very beautiful is her Jupiter in Leo. I find that people that have Jupiter in Leo, they are very, very successful with their Jupiter energy, and she's got it in the house of children. They're very successful with their message when it's not a message of self-aggrandizement, when it's a message of helping others. With her Jupiter in Leo, when I find people like my daughter, who started a Free the Whales and Dolphins page, and within 6 months had 15,000 people following it. And she had Jupiter in Leo. When she took on a cause that was not associated with herself, but was a cause for the whales and dolphins, people just flocked to her. Well, this girl, and you've seen pictures of her sitting on the street all by herself 3 years ago, still as adamant and still as passionate with the same cause. Now, the Jupiter in Leo is, it's bringing her with Jupiter, our present Jupiter in the heavens being in Sagittarius, it's rode over her south node, which is her karma, her karmic duty. Jupiter went over that this year. So it said, get up, wake up, get out there, reach more people, we're going to help you. There's the Jupiter on the south node. And south node in Sagittarius, which she has, this is someone that has spent many, many lifetimes, often kind of out there alone, studying spirituality. Could have been like a John the Baptist out in the desert, praying to God or studying in different spiritual schools, or have been a fiery priest or an evangelical, or somebody with a cause, but they were a little bit raw and wild and didn't really know how to fit into society. But they were of the higher mind, they were of the higher spirit, and they traveled a great deal to many countries, and they've got this massive wealth of spiritual growth within them. And in this life, with the North Node in Gemini, they're supposed to take that knowledge and disseminate that knowledge out there to everybody, as many people as possible. And because she has that North Node, as we said before, in the first house, she's supposed to get that knowledge and that message out as the leader, not behind the scenes, as the leader. She also had many lives where she was gaining the knowledge and sometimes may have given up her power to her mate. But in this lifetime, you might find that unless she finds somebody utterly compatible with her, she may not choose a partnership. This is not, and it's a passionate chart, the Venus, Mars, and Scorpio, but it's not an emotional chart in the way that most people would be emotional. It's emotional about a cause, but it's not emotional about herself. There's a dispassionate with the Sun and Moon in Capricorn. There's a separation from her own emotions, almost like a fierce Zen master or karate teacher who's standing there with the stick, waking people up to do the right thing, but at the same time is not hating anyone in the class, not down on anybody, but is kicking their derrieres and is not emotionally attached to the students. He's attached to what the message is. So there's not ego in this chart. There is not an egotistical bone here. And that's why I do not believe she's conning people or seeking power. There's nothing, and we can feel it when we look at her. I don't care what anyone says about her. When you look at her and let your heart feel her, you can feel the message is true and it's coming through from a higher realm. And whatever she's focusing on, it doesn't matter. Yes, we know there are many environmental issues out there that were not addressed by her, but she's waking people up to the environmental issue itself, and then that will get structured and worked out. The last thing I'd like to say is that she has Uranus in her 11th house of group endeavors, of humanitarian activities in Aquarius. So she's here to be a mover and shaker. Whatever group she enters, she's here to blast them wide open like a tower being struck by lightning. She's the lightning bolt. Her role on this earth is to be a lightning bolt and to crack us open from our placidity or our material obsessiveness or our ignorance or our lack of action. And that's why she'll say over and over, I don't care about your words. I want to see action. I want to see something done here. That's her Uranus in Aquarius up in that 11th house. And she will not she'll not suffer fools gladly with that. That's the house of friends also. So she's not going to suffer fools. And any friends that would be around her would be people that would be aligned to her cause. But she's not really into putting a lot of time into the emotion of, say, the romantic life or the poetic life. This is the spiritual warrior. This is the fierce warrior priestess. This is the wounded healer that's pulled the sword out of her own wound, cauterized that wound herself with fire, and got that sword out there and is going for it. Okay, I'm going to pull a card for her. And the card I pulled for her is someone that is gathering people of like mind for one purpose only: Mother Earth. She's got them all looking up at Mother Earth. If you look at that card, it's really beautiful. And they're all joined together in brotherhood, sisterhood, solely for the planet. That's it. So my suggestion is to not just wrap her in light, because I do feel there are haters out there against her, but to wrap the cause, to wrap the vision of a healing of our planet and a recognition of what she's trying to bring forth. Not a tearing apart of anything she's saying. Let your heart open to the vision of what she wishes to bring forth. I would like to end there. If you like this summation, this astrological breakdown, I'm happy to give you a reading. Just contact me at angelicmercy44@gmail.com. May your hearts feel in the center of your heart the blessed heart of our Holy Mother Earth, and may you feel a sense of divine love and divine mercy for all. Gotta end there. Bye.